She was trying to use the legal system inappropriately.
Federal court's no joke, right? Compared to the state court, federal court, way tougher.
In the glittering world of Hollywood, where image is everything and reputation is currency, there exists a dark underbelly few dare to expose.
What Ryan Reynolds forced his daughter to do on Deadpool is one of the most abhorrent things I have ever heard of.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, the couple once celebrated as the golden standard of Hollywood romance, now stand at the edge of a precipice so treacherous it threatens to swallow their entire legacy whole.
He is a certified predator.
This isn't just a story of a celebrity couple falling from grace. This is a forensic dissection of power, manipulation, and the catastrophic moment when the very shield protecting their carefully crafted persona becomes the weapon of their destruction.
Blake Lively might have just done herself in this battle with Justin Baldoni, although she didn't do it intentionally. It was something she said
long before she ever worked with Justin Baldoni.
Right, but there's something she said that has now been resurfaced, and it is right on the nose as far as what the issues are in her battle with Justin Baldoni.
Imagine the scene: a high-powered legal office, windows, overlooking the sprawling Los Angeles landscape, where whispers of betrayal echo through mahogany-lined corridors. Their lawyer, nameless but not voiceless, isn't just walking away. This is a calculated nuclear strike against everything Blake and Ryan believed they had constructed. Insider sources reveal a nightmare scenario of impossible demands, legal strategies so convoluted they would make Machiavelli blush, and a lawsuit so toxic it could poison entire legal ecosystems.
It's not going to be just a lawsuit. It's going to be the kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly what she did and how she bullied her way through the process.
The legal documents read like a thriller, each page a potential landmine of revelations that could detonate the carefully constructed personas of two of Hollywood's most beloved figures. Unreasonable expectations, manipulative tactics, and a level of professional misconduct that suggests this wasn't just a professional split. This was a complete systemic implosion designed to protect secrets that were never meant to see the light of day. The Hollywood machine is a labyrinth of smoke and mirrors, where truth is a currency more fluid than water and manipulation an art form perfected over decades. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds didn't just play the media, they were its puppet masters, conducting an orchestra of manipulation so intricate that reality itself became a malleable concept. Picture a war room, not of military strategists, but of public relations mercenaries. Walls covered in timelines, press clippings, and carefully annotated legal documents. Here, every word is a weapon, every interview, a calculated military operation. These weren't just press conferences, they were psychological warfare campaigns designed to infiltrate the public consciousness. Imagine teams of publicists working around the clock, anticipating every potential narrative thread, weaving stories so complex that truth becomes an almost impossible concept to grasp. Their manipulation wasn't just about controlling a story, it was about rewriting reality itself. Each press release became a scalpel, carefully excising inconvenient truths. Each strategically timed interview a suture closing wounds before they could even be examined. They weren't just managing a scandal, they were architects of an alternate reality where they were perpetually the victims, perpetually misunderstood. The media became their playground, public opinion their most valuable real estate. Traditional journalism, once a bastion of truth, transformed into a malleable tool, easily bent and shaped by those with enough influence and strategic brilliance. Blake and Ryan didn't just navigate the media landscape, they colonized it, leaving behind a scorched earth of manipulated narratives and carefully constructed illusions. Hollywood has always been a place where childhood innocence goes to die, but what happened on the Deadpool set was a horror story that would make even the most hardened industry insiders shudder. This wasn't just inappropriate behavior. This was a systematic deconstruction of parental boundaries, a psychological horror show played out under the guise of filmmaking. Imagine a 7-year-old girl, her world still filled with fairy tales and innocent wonder, suddenly thrust into a nightmare of adult humor and psychological manipulation. Ryan Reynolds, once celebrated as the fun-loving dad of Hollywood, transformed into something far more sinister. Each line, each rehearsal became a psychological wound, cutting deeper than any physical violence could. The set wasn't just a workplace, it was a theater of psychological warfare. Picture a father figure not protecting his child's innocence, but actively destroying it. Hundreds of rehearsals, each repetition a little death of childhood purity. The joke wasn't just inappropriate, it was a weapon, wielded with a calculated, precision that suggested this was more than just poor judgment. This was a calculated erosion of boundaries, a grotesque display of how Hollywood's toxic culture can normalize the unthinkable. Psychological experts would later describe this as a textbook example of emotional manipulation. A father using his position of absolute trust and authority to force a child into performing something deeply inappropriate. Each take wasn't just a film rehearsal, it was a violation, a moment where parental love was twisted into something unrecognizable. 500 times. Not a number, but a psychological torture chamber disguised as film production. Imagine a rehearsal room where innocence is methodically dismantled, one sexually graphic line at a time. This wasn't just inappropriate. This was a systematic deconstruction of childhood, performed under the fluorescent lights of Hollywood's most celebrated comedy set. The scene unfolds like a psychological thriller. A young girl, her eyes trained on her father, repeating lines so vulgar they would make most adults cringe. Each repetition is a psychological scalpel, carefully cutting away layers of childhood innocence. Ryan Reynolds isn't just a director or a father in this moment. He's a psychological architect constructing a landscape of trauma brick by excruciating brick. Imagine the power dynamics at play. A child desperate to please, a father wielding emotional manipulation like a finely tuned instrument. Do It Again becomes more than a direction. It's a form of psychological warfare. The line between parental guidance and emotional abuse blurs into a terrifying landscape where a child's autonomy is systematically dismantled. This wasn't just a rehearsal. This was a masterclass in psychological manipulation, a behind-the-scenes horror show that reveals the darkest undercurrents of Hollywood's child entertainment industry. Each repeated line was a wound, each forced performance a betrayal of the most fundamental trust between a parent and child. Corporate hypocrisy has never looked more grotesque than in this moment of absolute moral failure. Disney, the supposed guardian of childhood innocence, the creator of magical worlds, stands exposed as a monstrous entity more concerned with profit than protection. Picture the corporate boardroom. Executives in tailored suits discussing a 7-year-old child's participation in sexually graphic content with the same emotional investment they might discuss quarterly earnings. They would ban a sexual joke involving Mickey Mouse, yet willingly expose a child to content so inappropriate it defies comprehension. The irony isn't just thick, it's suffocating. This isn't just about one movie or one incident. This is systemic institutional failure at its most horrifying. Disney and Marvel transform from dream merchants to complicit enablers. They're family-friendly, facade crumbling to reveal a ruthless machine that sees children not as human beings to be protected, but as commodities to be exploited. The moral calculus is terrifying in its simplicity. A child's psychological well-being is worth less than box office numbers. Each frame of film becomes a testament to an industry so broken, so fundamentally corrupt, that it can rationalize the psychological destruction of a child as acceptable collateral damage. Law becomes a weapon. Justice transforms into a playground for the privileged. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds didn't just hire lawyers, they weaponized an entire legal system, turning courtrooms into theatrical stages where truth is just another prop to be manipulated. Imagine confidential settlements signed in hushed boardrooms, potential witnesses silenced with the stroke of a pen. Non-disclosure agreements become more than legal documents. They're psychological handcuffs designed to lock away inconvenient truths. Each motion to dismiss isn't just a legal strategy. It's a psychological warfare tactic designed to exhaust, intimidate, and silence. The legal battlefield is a chessboard where truth is the first casualty. Lawyers become mercenaries. Legal motions become calculated strikes designed not to seek justice, but to obfuscate, manipulate, and protect. Blake and Ryan aren't just defending themselves. They're constructing an impenetrable fortress of legal mumbo-jumbo, a labyrinth so complex that accountability becomes an impossible concept. This isn't justice. This is a high-stakes game where the rules are written by those with enough money, influence, and moral bankruptcy to redefine reality itself. The digital revolution isn't coming. It's here, and it's armed with nothing more than determination. access to information, and an absolute refusal to be silenced. Traditional media's iron grip shatters under the relentless assault of independent content creators, each video a missile targeting the establishment's protective bubble. YouTube becomes a courtroom, Twitter transforms into a tribunal, where Hollywood's carefully constructed narratives are systematically dismantled. These aren't just reporters, they're digital warriors fighting a guerrilla information war. Each click, each share, becomes an act of rebellion against a system designed to protect the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. Imagine an army of content creators, armed with nothing more than laptops and moral outrage, systematically exposing truths that mainstream media was too afraid or too compromised to touch. The playing field isn't just leveling, it's being completely reconstructed. Information becomes a weapon more powerful than any legal team, more penetrating than any PR strategy. The digital landscape becomes a battleground where truth can no longer be controlled, where the powerful can no longer hide behind carefully constructed narratives. Independent media doesn't just report the story, it becomes the story. This isn't just about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. This is about an entire ecosystem so fundamentally corrupt, so morally bankrupt, that it treats human beings as disposable commodities. Hollywood transforms from a dream factory into a psychological abattoir, where careers are born and destroyed with the same casual indifference. Picture generations of actors, crew members, and child performers trapped in a nightmarish system where speaking out means professional death. The machine doesn't just consume talents, it systematically breaks their spirits, normalizing behaviors that would be criminal in any other context. Each scandal becomes a crack in a dam, revealing the toxic sludge that has been building up. For decades, power isn't just a currency in Hollywood, it's a weapon, wielded with a sociopathic precision that would make Machiavelli look like an amateur. Careers are constructed and destroyed with the same emotional investment one might give to changing a television channel. Human beings become interchangeable parts in a massive, soul-crushing entertainment machine. The culture of silence isn't just a feature of the industry. It's its primary survival mechanism. Speaking out becomes an act of radical rebellion, a moment of absolute courage in a system designed to crush individual voices. The fall is never gradual in Hollywood. It's always a spectacular, catastrophic descent. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds watch their meticulously constructed empire crumble in real time, each revelation's another stick of dynamite strategically placed at the foundation of their professional lives. Imagine the transformation. From red, carpet royalty to industry pariahs, casting directors whispering, studios becoming ghost towns, the once guaranteed invitations evaporating like morning mist. This isn't just a career setback. This is a complete professional apocalypse where every previous role, every carefully cultivated public image becomes a potential liability. The Hollywood machine is unforgiving. One moment you're untouchable, the next you're radioactive. Their brand becomes poison, their name a cautionary tale whispered in hushed conversations in studio executive offices. The very mechanism that once elevated them now becomes the instrument of their destruction. Professional rehabilitation becomes an impossible concept. Every role, every potential project becomes a minefield of potential controversy, every public appearance a potential PR disaster. This is more than a scandal. This is a cultural earthquake, a moment where the tectonic plates of celebrity worship and accountability finally, irrevocably shift. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds become more than individuals. They become symbols of a system long overdue for a complete, merciless overhaul. The public isn't just watching, it's participating. Social media becomes a global courtroom, where judgment is swift, brutal, and democratized. Each revealed lie becomes another nail in the coffin of Hollywood's old toxic paradigm. The age of blind celebrity worship dies, replaced by a new era of critical thinking and absolute accountability. This moment transcends individual scandal. It becomes a watershed, a line in the cultural sand where society collectively decides, no more. No more protecting the powerful. No more silencing the vulnerable. No more treating human beings as disposable entertainment commodities. The reckoning isn't just coming, it's here. And it's bringing with it a level of accountability that will reshape Hollywood forever.